What's going on? It's the Rap Nerd, and since Mortal Kombat 2 released in theaters over the weekend, it's had me in a Mortal Kombat frenzy. So what better way to continue that frenzy than to rank the live action movies that we have out. And this is going to be a real joy for me because, again, since watching Mortal Kombat 2, it just sparked a lot of memories that I've had with the franchise over the years, and I'm going on a deep rabbit hole with my own memory with the movies and the games. So that's going to go into my ranking, and I have to give you a little bit of story time on the way there because the games of yesterday and how they released are nothing like they are today, and I think that in itself is a pretty fun thing to explore. So to start, I want to give a shout out to a web series that's now an official series on HBO Max that you can watch right now called Mortal Kombat Legacy, which is kind of a deep dive into how the whole tournament starts, and it gives you background on all of the characters, which I think is a very fun watch. It's like 2 seasons and they're like 20 episodes a piece. Each episode kind of differs in time, but you get a origin story for every character within like the main timeline of the first 3 games, I believe. And it's super interesting. You could look at it and tell that there's a little bit of low budget in certain areas, but overall it's produced well. And I think that it has a lot of good choreography and action to really feed you with that type of action that you crave from the series. So go ahead and watch that if you've not watched it now. Mortal Kombat Legacy, it's on HBO Max, and you can even look at it on YouTube as well. So I wanted to start by giving that a shout out because it's dope. So at the number 4 spot for me is Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Now, this movie is hated by so many, but I can't lie. I love this film. Despite the issues that it does have, which it clearly does have. I mean, killing Johnny Cage within the first 5 minutes is not a smart move by any means. But outside of that, I really enjoy it because when I watched it as a kid, it really blew my mind. The movie released in '97. And Mortal Kombat 3 released in 1995. So there is like a 2-year gap between time of just being able to live with Mortal Kombat 3. So what Annihilation did is adapted a lot of characters from that game into the movie. So it was super dope to me to see Cyrax, to see the metal version of Smoke, to see Sub-Zero's little brother, to see Jax, to see Noob Saibot, Nightwolf, Jade, the inclusion of the animalities. All of that was next level because it was the new hotness that was in the games. And back in the day, as I mentioned, gaming was quite different. They would send these games to arcades and they would have them there for a few months before sending them home to consoles like PlayStation and Super Nintendo. So we, as gamers, would have to go to arcades just to play the game. So once they hit the shelves, we went crazy. And I remember I used to rent that game from Blockbuster all the time. So by the time Annihilation came out and they had all of those characters in the trailer, I was all the way down. And even to this day, I still like how a lot of that was coordinated. Again, a lot of it can be done better, but some of the scenes were epic. Like seeing a lot of these new characters in live action was just off the chain for me. Liu Kang having to fight robotic Smoke to then be saved by Sub-Zero's younger brother, and then he has to fight Scorpion, and then the side journey of Liu Kang meeting Nightwolf, who has to learn how to channel his animality to turn into a full dragon that's terribly CGI'd. But man, back in the 90s, that was everything. So Annihilation was literally just a fanfare film. A lot of what happened didn't make sense, and the acting was way over the top, but man, my initial run-ins with that movie were something else. And I will always love that film, and you cannot make me hate it, but out of all the films, it's definitely the weakest. So at the number 4 spot is Mortal Kombat Annihilation. At the number 3 spot for me is Mortal Kombat 2021, and I spoke on this in my spoiler review and even in my review for Mortal Kombat 2 that this movie's not bad. I think that there are some things wrong. I think the first problem is the editing with the fights because a lot of those scenes were just not edited well to where we couldn't see all the action. And then the secondary problem was Cole. And I think his issue was everybody was expecting him to be a character that we know and love. And when it came out that he just is a new guy with plot armor literally as his power, it was very disappointing. But I think the movie still has some gold in there. I think everything with Sub-Zero and Scorpion, it's worth watching for those fights and those sequences alone. So they got those right. And there are even some sequences within the training camp that I think are really dope. But the ball was really dropped in that middle chunk of the film. And honestly, I think they can even restore it back. Because if you've seen Mortal Kombat 2, you know that Cole got killed within the first 15 minutes. But if they resurrect him and make him the new Scorpion, since he already has that lineage, I think that will turn the whole ship around and we'll be in a whole different place. Because that was one of the problems. It's like, hey, is he Johnny Cage? A lot of people were wondering that. A lot of people were wondering, like, is he Scorpion and doesn't know it? Which is something I think that they should have gone down the lane with him instead of just making him a new character. But besides that, I think what could have made this movie work even better is the fact that they should have had Mortal Kombat kind of take place in the real world. Like, one of the dopest scenes in the films when Scorpion shows up going after Cole. There should have been more of that, where we have characters showing up in stores fighting randomly. I can imagine how dope that would be, showing up in like the mall fighting, showing up on a basketball court fighting, just places in the real world where they can like decimate everything around them to show how dangerous Mortal Kombat can be. So when we get to the tournament, we know it's no holds bar. Like, I still get chills to this day when Cole and his family are at that burger joint and it starts to get cold and the whole scene gets snowy and they're like, it's the summertime in California, why is it getting cold? And then we just see Sub-Zero slinging knives and it's just pure chaos on the streets as he's trying to flee from Sub-Zero, and then it leads into Jax fighting him in like a warehouse. Like, if the whole movie would have been that, I think it would have been way more enjoyable. Even though, like I said, we still do get parts and pieces of that, you know, with Cole fighting at his house, but I think taking the environment of the world would have been a better way to go. But like I said, the opening sequence of the backstory between Bi-Han and Hanzo, I mean, you can't get better than that. Plus the ending with Scorpion going into Sub-Zero's frozen tundra territory and fighting, and the third act taken there. Both of those are stellar. And it's even funny as hell having Kano there. So the movie's definitely not a complete bust. I still watch it and enjoy it. And I have a steelbook back there, as a matter of fact. And I now get more enjoyment from it since seeing Mortal Kombat 2. So this is one that I enjoy, but definitely not the best of the franchise. So at the number 2 spot, I have Mortal Kombat 2021 remake. Now we're at the 1 and 2 spot. I'm kind of going to reference both of these movies back and forth because I'm still struggling with which one that I have at the 1 and 2 spot definitively. Of course, number 1 holds a special place in my heart from a nostalgia standpoint, because when Mortal Kombat 95 dropped, the world went crazy. For us who loved the game, we could not believe what it does. And I think that what they did with that movie was fantastic. But I can't even lie, I think Mortal Kombat 2 as an adaptation of the series is also equally insane. So you know what? I just had the executive decision right now. At the number 2 spot for me is Mortal Kombat 2. I did a whole deep dive on that with 2 videos. I have a initial review and then I have a spoiler review. So if you want more of the thoughts on the actual film, definitely give that a watch, but I'll give kind of a synopsis of why I have it at 2. I think that this is the best adaptation of the games put on screen. Everything that we know from the games is there. The special moves are there. The fatalities are there. The stages are there. And it's all done unapologetically. And that's what I love most about it. Even the storyline being paper thin, it's part of what the storyline is. I mean, yes, as you start to get down the line, they shape things differently to give it more backstory and aura. Like when you get past Mortal Kombat 4 all the way to now, there's definitely more to draw from. But I feel like the basic concept of what Mortal Kombat is was put on screen perfectly in Mortal Kombat 2. And I couldn't ask for anything more. Now, when we get some more sequels, I definitely will expect it to get a little bit tighter, but having this as a definitive new Mortal Kombat movie and putting the pin down is like, this is what we're doing. So that being said, number 1 being Mortal Kombat 1995. I think that this one did a great job of taking what was in the games at the time, because during the release of 95, Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 were out. So taking what that material and saying like, hey, if Mortal Kombat existed in the real world, how would it be? And that's kind of a product of what the 90s did. It would make things into thrillers. Most adaptations from games or even comic books were given the action thriller treatment to try to sell it to not only the fans of the material, but people who don't even know what's going on, but just want to see a good blockbuster. And I think with that goal, they accomplished it, while also providing straight up adaptions of the characters in some of the best ways possible. Because one of the things I love about the movie so much is, even though it's PG-13, it still feels like a hard R-rated film. And I think that's because the tone of the film was established really well. So at every single moment you turn, the stakes are high because you don't know who's gonna die and who's gonna live. And it gave us classic moments that us as fans will always remember. I mean, Johnny Cage versus Scorpion, one of the best fight scenes ever in my opinion. Just the fact that it takes place in two different realms, which both are of the games. You know, going from that forest, I forgot the particular name of it, to the hell sequence in one scene was just spectacular. Having Sub-Zero display his freeze powers in multiple ways, freezing that dude who decided to do all this extra shit and got killed, and then facing off against Liu Kang, fire. The inclusion of Goro and going the practical route with that suit, having Johnny Cage do his special nutcracker against him, as well as the shadow kick against Scorpion. Shang Tsung taking souls was scared the shit out of me as a kid. Like the beginning of that movie, I used to cover my eyes when it came on because I was like, this is too gruesome and scary. And I did that for a while. And just the fact that this movie established that danger and that kind of horror aspect of the film to relate to the games, I think was done perfectly at the time. So yeah, I think what they were going for with trying to ground the story of Mortal Kombat in reality worked. And I still think it's held the test of time. I watched it recently and I still love it. I still think that it's pretty damn good. So as a number one spot for me is Mortal Kombat 1995. So that's my ranking of the franchise. Let me know in the comments what you rank each movie as. And again, no wrong answer here. We're all fans of cinema and I want to hear your comments below. And let's get this discussion going. And of course, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And until next time, peace. RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.